how you guys doing? Welcome back, everybody. Hi. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. It is, in fact, the Young Turks. It is, in fact, Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian with you guys. I hope you guys got a chance to check out our Thanksgiving specials. So we did some shows for you guys. That's on TYT.com on Thursday and Friday. We also had an extra special for the members, which I watched. It was a tearjerker. It was really good. Yeah. Like, shout out to Hank Thompson, because that was some heavy lifting on the editing side of things. Yeah. Lots of creativity, but it was like, yeah, I did actually cry. You know, I cried when Alex started talking about her husband. And how he's like her best friend, and like started thinking about my husband, and it made me all emotional. It was so good. You guys should check it out if you're a member only, though. Not saying anything. TYT.com/join to become a member, so that you can, as my kids say, COL, cry out loud. All right, fun for everybody. Speaking of which, just real quick as well, this is apparently Cyber Monday, and the folks at Shop TYT have lost their minds. This is the biggest sale of the year. It's 30% off just today. Everything? Everything. What is this? You got to get that hoodie, guys. ShopTYT.com, only today, 30% off. It is, in fact, panic time. All right, speaking of panic, we have a Republican leaving Congress and admitting he's guilty. What is this? That's later in the program. We got, of course, as always, election news and Trump news. So Anna, take it away. All right. The White House continues to complain about the so-called unfair process of the impeachment investigation. They feel that they've been left out of the hearings, that they haven't been given the proper opportunity to defend themselves. However, in yet another opportunity to defend themselves, the Trump administration has said that they will not participate in the House Judiciary Committee's hearing on the impeachment this week. Now, it would be very helpful for Trump to participate in this, or at least have his lawyers participate, but he explains why he refuses to do so in this next clip. Take a look.
Why don't you send one of your lawyers to represent your point of view before the House impeachment inquiry?
Because the whole thing is a hoax. Everybody knows it. All you have to do is look at the words of the Ukrainian president that he just issued, and you know it's a hoax. It's an absolute disgrace what they're doing to our country.
So he claims it's a hoax. His counsel, Pat Cipollone, also claims that this is all a hoax. Of course, we've all now heard from numerous Trump administration officials who have said that he did withhold that military funding to Ukraine in order to pressure the Ukrainian government to dig up dirt on his political rival, Joe Biden. I mean, these are not progressives, these are not lefties, these are people in some cases who donated a lot of money to Donald Trump, and then later in this impeachment investigation testified against him, because the truth is the truth, and it's gonna come out sooner or later. So Gordon Sondland was the one who turned on Trump eventually. So Cenk, jump in. Yeah, so first of all, of course the Ukrainian president didn't say that. He had an interview with a number of European outlets where he said, look, of course it wasn't a quid pro quo, because I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't want to beg on behalf of Ukraine. He said, on the other hand, it is not good to hold up our aid and to go around calling us corrupt, because that reduces investment in our country, and we needed that aid to protect ourselves from Russia. In other words, he's saying, look, I'm telling you right now, I desperately need America. So I can't tell you right now while Trump is in office that it was a quid pro quo. But I need that aid. I needed it before, I need it for the next time around. So I'm being as clear as I could possibly be that it was not a good thing to hold up our aid. So Trump's characterization of what Zelensky said, of course, totally and utterly wrong as usual. And look, I'm now exhausted at this point dealing with Republican lies. And normally I have fun with it. And we spike them on a daily basis. This is stupid, this is not true, etc. But this impeachment is both Trump and the entire Republican Party, wall-to-wall lie. Take everything you see and turn it upside down. So him saying like, oh, they're not giving me a fair shot. You can go, you right there, you're the president. You say they're not being fair to you. You can go testify. Now you say, hey, look, I don't want to testify because I'm a pathological liar and they'll get me on 1,000 things I say wrong. Our point is exactly. Secondly, your lawyers can go. You've got
all of the Republican congressmen that are in the hearings, plus your lawyers, plus you if you want. He says, no, I'm not going to go, and I'm not going to send my lawyers either. Well, then you're going to have to drink a tall glass of shut up juice, because this is over the top fair to you. But nonetheless, what do they come out with? Their talking point is, oh, it's so unfair to us. It's so unfair to us. It's a hoax.
I know, but look, the frustrating part of this story is not that Republicans are lying in an effort to cover up for Trump or make excuses for Trump or defend Trump. The frustrating part is no one ever goes back to the heart of the story, which is Republican lawmakers who went directly to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and said, we don't know what to do. We can't defend Donald Trump on the substance, so how do we defend him? And Mitch McConnell said, focus on the process. Okay, and that's what they've done, and they're gonna keep doing it. They're gonna keep pretending as if this is some sort of unfair process, even though there's absolutely no indication that it's unfair. And the Trump administration has been asked to participate in this over and over again. So there was a 5-page letter sent to Adam Schiff by Pat Cipollone, that's the White House counsel, and he wrote the following. We cannot fairly be expected to participate in a hearing while the witnesses are yet to be named and while it remains unclear whether the Judiciary Committee will afford the president a fair process through additional hearings.
Okay, let me break that down, guys. So they do have a fair process through these hearings. He's like, but if there are going to be additional hearings that no one knows about, we don't know if you're gonna, what process you're gonna apply to unknown hearings. Well, I guess you could use that excuse to get out of any hearing ever, because there might later be other hearings and you don't know the process to hearings that have not been named. What a terrible, terrible excuse. And all the witnesses have been named. That's not how hearings work. So sometimes witnesses are called and some of them are named, and then later other witnesses are called, and sometimes based on the testimony given. So you couldn't possibly name every single witness. By the way, the Republicans might be able to call some witnesses, and they're gonna have to see which witnesses are allowed and not allowed. So by definition, you can't have all the witnesses right now. He knows that, but the point isn't to be legally correct. The point is just to have a fig leaf for Trump supporters to go, oh yeah, that's right, we're the victims. It's been totally unfair.
It's beyond frustrating. But one other thing is, look, this House Judiciary Committee hearing is incredibly important, right? So if Trump had any interest in really defending himself, he would want to be part of it. He would want at least his lawyers to be there, because the whole purpose of it is to look at the evidence at hand and determine whether or not there is enough evidence to draft the articles of impeachment. Yeah. And so you would want to have a voice in that process. If you're truly innocent and you truly want to defend yourself, that's what this hearing is all about. And he's refusing to participate because he knows he's guilty. And then he pretends as though he cares about the NATO summit that's happening this week. Remember, Trump notoriously despises NATO, thinks it's nonsense, and goes after our NATO allies all the time. But here he is claiming that the NATO summit this week is incredibly important. He can't be distracted by the impeachment investigation.
The Democrats, the radical left Democrats, the do-nothing Democrats, decided when I'm going to NATO, this was set up a year ago, that when I'm going to NATO, that was the exact time. This is one of the most important journeys that we make as president. And for them to be doing this and saying this and putting an impeachment on the table, which is a hoax to start off with.
So there you go. He's pretending like, it's you don't have to be there. White House counsel can be there. White House counsel can defend you. I mean, that's usually what would happen anyway, but he just doesn't want to take part in this. They want to pretend as though this is a illegitimate process.
So in the Judiciary Committee, they're trying to determine, as Anna was alluding to, what are the different articles of impeachment? Do we have enough evidence for showing that not only that things happened, but that they were a high crime or misdemeanor, or perhaps another violation of the Constitution? So there is no earthly reason why you wouldn't send your lawyer there. If I was charged with things I didn't do, and we're going to determine what the charges are, would I send my lawyer? Of course, everybody would send their lawyer, unless they know they have no legal grounds to stand on and they have no factual grounds to stand on. So the only thing they're gonna hang their hat on is not fair, not fair. unclear, which is what Donald Trump probably cried to his daddy 1,000 times as his daddy spanked him after giving him another bailout after another bankruptcy, right? So, and Trump's back to that. Like Anna pointed out, yeah, you're really worried about NATO. You've been trying to basically dismember NATO from the day that you got in, thanks to your orders from your boss, Vladimir Putin. So normally when you go to Europe, those are really important because usually those are meetings that are not just NATO, but are a larger group that include Putin, and that's where you get your orders, and that's where you rip up the transcripts of your dialogue with Putin, or don't allow American translators. That is the most important thing you do, whether it's you get your orders from your boss normally when you go over to Europe. But in this case, this is just NATO, the people you don't like, i.e. our allies. So this whole thing of like, oh my God, I'm busy working. Oh, please. You know what he did over the weekend? This is one of my favorite things. So somebody, a reporter predicted that he'd spent all Thanksgiving tweeting. Now, as it turned out, he went to go see the troops in Afghanistan. Great, I'm glad he did that. That's a good move politically, but it's a good thing to do overall, okay? So then Don Trump Jr. tweets out, ha ha, see, Dad didn't tweet on Thanksgiving, you were so wrong, fake news. And before Thanksgiving's up, Donnie, because he's just too stupid and can't stand it, tweeted about, ha ha, I didn't tweet.
Oh God.
Oh God. There's no end to his stupidity. That's the president, right? So you're too busy. Please, nobody believes that. Not a single person in America or the world believes that. Well, you're gonna go to NATO, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna tweet over there about some hoax, witch hunt, blah. So guilty, 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 guilty. It's beyond any reasonable doubt. And so the fact that they're not even showing up shows you they know they have absolutely no case.
Exactly, and it is funny because just today, House Republicans released a report, a 123-page report defending Donald Trump, claiming that the Democrats have absolutely no evidence indicating that Donald Trump is guilty of high crimes or misdemeanors, including bribery and extortion. Even though there are text message exchanges, even though there are members of Trump's own administration testifying against him, you have members of the intelligence community, you have various ambassadors chiming in on this and sharing their perspective and their evidence on it. There is an abundance of evidence against Donald Trump. He is unable to defend himself. Republicans are really unable to defend him when it comes to the substance. They just focus on how unfair the process supposedly is, and that's it. That's all it is.
One last thing. Fox and Friends this morning is back to, well, if you thought the last set of hearings were boring, these are gonna be even more boring. It's lawyers talking about what's legal and not legal. Snooze fest. What do you do with guys like this? So if your best argument is you might be right and the president we support is a criminal, on the other hand, the way you're presenting evidence against him is boring. Is that an on the other hand? So I feel like every day we come on the show, we have a debate with people who keep telling us that the grass is not green, it's purple. And we have to just like genuinely go, okay, here's the science behind why grass is green and not purple. And every day they come out and they're like, no, the grass is being so unfair to us. And you're being unfair by pointing out science. So we will not send our own scientists, but we demand that you call it purple, or at least even. So that's just not how it works. He's wrong in every way, shape, and form. Look, on the one hand, I want him to go into more charges against him, obstruction of justice on the Russia case, the campaign finance violations on the hush money. On the other hand, I just want to wrap it up because I'm so sick of the Republican lies that we have to knock down every single day that have 0% merit. This is not a conversation between rational actors anymore. They are illegitimate and purposely lying actors, and it's not just Trump. It is now the entire Republican Party. I mean, they own it.
They enable criminality. That's what they do.
Yeah, it's a criminal supporting enterprise, the National Republican Party. No ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Well, what is a strategy that Donald Trump is using to defend himself? This is fascinating because it involves the Clintons. So, Donald Trump is modeling himself after Bill Clinton, even though he claims to dislike the Clintons. He claims to be anti-establishment, very different from the Clintons. He's actually been working with individuals who aided Bill Clinton during his impeachment investigation. And so what is Trump exactly doing with the evidence or the advice he's been given? Well, he's appearing to be busy, right? And he's pushing out this message that while Democrats are wasting their time and resources focusing on the impeachment investigation, he's out there working for the average American and he's working hard. In fact, he shared that perspective during his recent rally in Florida. Take a look.
Everybody's getting rich, and I'm working my ass off, that I can tell you. But while we're creating jobs and killing terrorists, and taking care of our border, it's really setting records now. You see what's going on. And the wall is happening, it's getting built rapidly, and that's a real wall. The radical left Democrats are trying to rip our nation apart. And now the same maniacs are pushing the deranged impeachment. Think of this, impeachment.
So over the weekend, he went to visit troops in Afghanistan, and he doesn't usually do stuff like that, right? Usually he's golfing or he's enjoying himself. He doesn't really care too much about visiting troops at all. But he visited the troops, and this is part of his strategy to appear as though he's busy, he's looking out for the average American, he's looking out for the troops, while Democrats are hyper-focused on the impeachment investigation. The fact of the matter is, Democratic lawmakers have passed many bills that have stalled in the Senate because Mitch McConnell won't even bring it up for a vote. And Donald Trump would, of course, veto anything that Democrats are in favor of. So they're not do-nothing Democrats. They've been working hard, trying to push for policies that actually matter. What Trump is doing is all political theater.
Yeah. So first on the rally tape. Okay, I can't help myself. We're gonna correct 3 lies that he said in there. He said, we're killing tariffs. What are you talking about? You're the one who instituted tariffs. Well, it's the exact opposite of killing tariffs. It makes no sense at all.
He just implemented new tariffs today.
Yeah, and then he's like, and we were setting records on the border. Well, that's partly true. Record number of people coming in, so for at least over a decade. So he cracked down on immigrants for 2 to 3 years, and what happened was sometime last year, we broke a record on number of people crossing the border. What happened? I thought getting tough on immigrants was supposed to work, and we were supposed to have less people crossing the border. Well, it didn't work at all. It didn't work at all. Why? Because he'd taken away aid from 3 Latin American countries that desperately needed it. It created worse situations, and it led to more migration, not less migration, because he's an idiot. And then he said, we're building the wall rapidly. None of it has been built. So yes, they're working on it now because he illegally diverted some funding to the wall, but so far no extra wall has been built. It's being built rapidly, okay?
Yeah.
If it's being built, it certainly ain't rapid. Okay, now onto the troops. So all the presidents do this, they're all photo ops. So it's true when Democrats do it, it's true when Republicans do it. But it's a nice thing anyway. You should still go and do Thanksgiving with the troops, and I'm glad he did it. It's a nice gesture. Yes, Anna's right, he does it less than other presidents, significantly less than Bush or Obama. It's because he doesn't like to travel, especially if he's not making money off of it. In fact, when he did go here, because finally he's in real trouble on impeachment, so he's like, oh, I got a great idea, let me hide behind the troops. Oh, that's what I thought. Okay.
Let me use the troops as props.
Of course,
right.
Of course. So, you know what he did after he came back? He complained that he didn't have enough to eat. He just can't leave well enough alone. He just can't. Just all you got to do is just shut up. Just go take the picture there.
What did he say about that?
Yeah, he talked about how he didn't have enough to eat. I mean, why would you say that? And you're about to go back on Air Force One, where you will have plenty to eat. Okay.
I saw something where he referred to eating gorgeous turkey. Like, who refers to it as gorgeous turkey?
Yeah, there was a gorgeous turkey. We chopped it up and then ate it. It was gorgeous though before we chopped it up.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, okay, so here's the fascinating part about all of this, right? So he's like, all right, I normally look like I'm a lazy ass with all this executive time and I don't do anything, but like, let me appear busy. And again, he got that advice from Mark Penn, a Clinton strategist. But let's compare the two different presidents and whether or not the strategy will work for Trump. Because it did work for Clinton, but Clinton had other things, other factors that worked in his favor. So one of those factors was the fact that Clinton was much more popular than Trump was. So Clinton survived his 1998 impeachment in part because the economy was roaring and because he appeared to many voters to be relentlessly focused on doing the business of the American people. When Clinton left office in 2001, Gallup measured his job approval rating at 66%. As we know, Trump's approval rating is not very high. So Clinton's approval rating hovered in the high 50s and 60s, whereas Trump's has been mired below 50%.
And that's being kind to him. He has never crossed 50%. That means he's literally never been popular in this country, ever, during his entire presidency. The highest that I've seen him get is around 45%. That's his peak. He goes down into the mid 30s, which is disastrous. And as you just can do the math yourself there, is about literally half of Clinton's popularity. There are many other factors that were involved. Clinton, at the end of his presidency, I thought did some disastrous things, far too much deregulation of banking, media, etc. But what no one could take away from him was he was a workaholic. Everybody knew he was a workaholic. He worked around the clock, wouldn't stop working. Meanwhile, Trump, to Anna's point, builds in 6 hours of what they call executive time, which is napping, Fox and Friends, and tweeting. Okay,
it's very important.
And that's it. And that is what's considered his work. That's his everybody knows Trump's the laziest man in America. Everybody knows that, okay? Giant difference. And so other than that, they were trying to impeach Clinton over a consensual affair he had when they actually started on a real estate deal that it turns out he was not corrupt on. So it was totally tangential, had nothing to do with anything, whereas Trump has committed half a dozen crimes. And that are clear, massive, and what they were originally investigating him for. So there's all the difference in the world. But there is one thing that unites them, and it's greasy consultant lobbyists like Mark Penn. So look, guys, I've seen Mark Penn in green rooms, and I think that I'm beginning to.
That is a perfect photo to describe what Cenk is talking about right now.
Yeah, so I'm beginning to agree with Anna. Look, off air, I'm cordial and amiable with everybody, and sometimes to a point where they're surprised. They're like, I thought that was that angry guy online. Right, but as I've told you a million times, in my real life, I'm happy-go-lucky. It's just the news pisses me off, right? But maybe Anna's right. She doesn't talk to people in the green room, etc. I mean, Mark Penn. This is the exact Democratic consulting group. No moral core at all.
Right.
Oh, I'm getting paid? Who cares? Clinton, yeah. Help the bankers. Yeah, let Murdoch buy everything in media. Yeah. Okay, oh, but we're Democrats. You can't criticize us. Then he turns around and helps Trump. You still a Democrat? You ain't a Democrat. You never were. You have no moral core at all. So money. Here, let me try to help Trump trick people and get away with his crimes. And so, look, Mark Penn is Mark Penn, and he is among the worst of the worst. But it's not just Mark Penn. A lot of these Democratic consultants, they will then turn around and go wherever the money is. Oh, you want to run as a third party candidate and maybe get Trump elected? No problem, you're a billionaire. Money. Everything's about the money that they can get their greasy hands on. So that's who Mark Penn is, and a lot of his buddies in the Democratic consulting class that runs Washington. They don't care about any principles, and look at that. It's the minute Trump offers them money, they go running like dogs to him.
Of course. And look, my read of this is that it's gonna work, right? I mean, the photo ops, the one thing that Trump is really good at doing is self-marketing and self-promoting. So even though we know the truth, and even though we know what's actually happening behind these photo ops, he's not really doing anything for the American people. A lot of this stuff is more symbolic. The fact of the matter is, it is gonna work with people, and it sucks.
Democrats should have an anti-Trump. I mean, it ain't Schiff. Please don't let it be Schiff. But
what do you mean? He's so energetic and enthusiastic.
Yeah, assign someone to knock down every one of his talking points. Say, this is our Trump talking point slayer, okay? Make it Rashida Tlaib. You know what? Oh no, we can't do that. She was originally in favor of impeachment. Yeah, that's right, and she was right. Oh no, but she'd be really aggressive. That's the whole point, okay? Every time That was a fun Freudian slip. Every dumb I said for Trump, right? Every time he does a talking point, oh yeah, well I was busy, not getting enough food with the troops, right? Have Rashida or whoever you pick, but they've got to be strong and aggressive. Come out and say, no, that's not true. Here's your talking points of the day, defeated, and have charts, put up big posters so the media can pay attention. Have someone knock down every one of his stupid lies. Democrats, this is not that hard. Please get in the ball game.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we have a breaking news story on a congressman from California who's about to plead guilty to a crime.
We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back in the Young Turks, let's go to member section as usual. Sharon says, crap, I missed it. Is there a code for the sale today? You didn't miss it, I forgot to tell you. Thank you for asking. Yes, the Shop TYT Cyber Monday ballistic sale does have a code. It's treat yourself. Why is it that? I don't know. But
okay, Boomer.
All right, no, I got it, but like we're cool, we're hip. Treat yourself, okay?
Oh my God.
YOSELF. Okay, shoptyt.com, 30% off. Okay, this is the biggest sale of the year. It's only for today, so yes, panic. And thank you for asking, Sharon. Jackson says, hey, Cenk and Anna, I want to thank my endlessly awesome and beautiful wife, Jessica, for letting me use some of our wedding gift money to buy 5 new shirts from tyt.com.
She is generous.
Okay, you guys are awesome. They arrived over Thanksgiving weekend and I couldn't be happier. Thanks to TYT for being an awesome part of our marriage, and to you, Mrs. Bunny, for embracing my infinite love of TYT. Cheers. Who doesn't love these guys?
Is their last name really Bunny? Or is that like a name?
No, I don't know, but I would be surprised. No, it's obviously.
It's a cute nickname, I
like
that.
So yes, Jackson and Jessica Bunny, thank you. Brian Wagner says, by the way, Ida Rodriguez was amazing at Magooby's Joke House on Saturday night. Don't doubt that at all. FunnyIda.com for all of her dates when she's performing in your neck of the woods. Naveen Gundamogula writes in, I believe Trump said killing terrorists, not tariffs. So we're gonna go back and check the tape on that. If he did, my bad, and thank you for pointing that out. We do the show together. Thank you for participating. That was on Twitter, #TYT Live. Talk to us on Twitter. Last is YouTube Super Chat. Jacoby Gardner says, it was fun seeing Cenk on Hassan's stream, and it needs to guest appear on it next time as well. So this is Hassan's Twitch stream, which is not related to us, but I did go on as a guest over Thanksgiving. And I showed him my triceps, so if you want to check that out. All right, rbuckle123 says Trump's presidential library is expected to be completed as soon as he finishes coloring the second book. So great comments, guys. Thank you, we appreciate it.
All right, we have a big news story. Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter plans on pleading guilty to one of the 60 criminal charges against him related to illegal use of campaign finance money. So he had used some of his campaign funds for all sorts of personal reasons, and of course that's against the law. So he has released a statement saying, the plea I accepted is misuse of my own campaign funds, of which I pled guilty to only 1 count. I think it's important that people know that I think it's important that people know that I did make mistakes. I did not properly monitor or account for my campaign money. I justify my plea with the understanding that I am responsible for my own campaign and my own campaign money. Now, this is a huge reversal because as we know, we've talked about this story on the show extensively. He had denied any wrongdoing, but there was a great deal of evidence showing that he had spent the money on dental work, on trips with his family, on tactical military gear, tactical pants from a military store. He also golf, exactly. So all sorts of personal things that he's not supposed to use that money for. He also said, I'm confident that the transition will be a good one, referring to his seat in Congress. My office is going to remain open. We're going to pass it off to whoever takes this next seat. I think it's important to keep the seat a Republican seat. Well, it's not up to you. And so it's really unclear whether he's going to resign, but it seems like he's giving us a little bit of a hint that he plans to.
Okay, so look, he might be going to prison, so that would be excellent, and of course he should. One of the other things he spent the money on was flying his pet rabbit across the country. Another thing he spent money on was his 5 affairs. Now, he then blamed his wife originally for misusing the money. Pretty sure she didn't spend it on the affairs. So now he's turning around and saying, well, I hope my wife doesn't get any prison time for this, and I'm accepting responsibility. Are you? He talks about, oh, well, it's just one crime I'm admitting to. Yeah, that's why it's a plea deal. Otherwise, they'd convict you on all of the crimes.
Right.
And what happened? I thought you said it was a deep state plot. See, that's what they see. Understand when Donald Trump and all of his lackeys talk about the deep state and hoax and witch hunt, et cetera. At the end of the day, a lot of these guys come back around and go, yeah, of course I did it. I mean, that'll be ridiculous. I don't want to go to prison for like 20 years, so I'm going to take a plea and maybe go to prison for a couple of years for ripping off all my campaign donors in a manner that is brazenly illegal. Yeah, of course I was lying when I said it was a deep state plot. Who'd be stupid enough to believe that? Oh, right, the Republican voters who put him back into office in the middle of the investigation when they already knew all these facts.
It's amazing.
Because what, you guys believed it really was a deep state plot? Because right now, Duncan Hunter turns around and goes, no, you morons, of course it wasn't a deep state plot. That was an obvious lie, I did it. So
he stole money from his own donors, right? I mean, look, it's a Republican congressman. I'm guessing that he doesn't have like small dollar donors who are, scraping by. But still, I mean, these are people who supported him. He took their money and he spent it on nonsense, including affairs. And his wife, he did throw his wife under a bus. But then his wife pleaded guilty and confessed to everything, which of course threw him under the bus. So he really had no choice but to take a plea deal, which it appears he's doing here. And he did release a statement about his wife. He specifically said, whatever my time in custody will be, by the way, she's facing 5 years, but she'll probably serve much less. I will take that hit. My only hope is that the judge does not sentence my wife to jail. I think my kids need a mom in the home. Probably needed a dad in the home too. Where are the fathers? Apparently having affairs in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, with ill-gotten gains. Maybe you should have thought about your wife going to jail before you threw her under the bus. And maybe, like Donald Trump, you should have put a couple of thoughts behind, hey, if I throw everyone that is closest to me under a bus, I might not have anyone left to support me. But like Donald Trump, you're an idiot, and so you didn't think that through at all. And now come around and have to admit that you were in fact guilty. And this is the easiest prediction of all time. Later, when he gets out of prison, he'll say, well, no, I mean, did I plead guilty? Did I serve time? And nah, but I didn't really mean it. It was a deep state plot all along. You know he's gonna do that. Everybody knows he's gonna do that. These are the greasiest, worst people in America. I mean, how could you not see through this guy? But he was narrowly reelected last time. This time around, the same Democrats in the campaign, and you should support someone who actually isn't corrupt. How about that for a change? Amar Kampa-Najjar is an excellent candidate. He was a Justice Democrat, and that means he doesn't take corporate PAC money, let alone abuse it like Duncan Hunter did illegally. So whether you agree 100% with his politics or not in that district, at least you know he's clean. That would be a nice change for your district. So if you want to find out more about him, it's CampaCampaign.com, CAMPA campaign.com, CampaCampaign.com. A great, solid progressive in that district, but most importantly, clean and uncorrupted.
All right, let's move on to our next story. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump have been pushing this nonsense conspiracy theory involving Ukraine and how it allegedly tried to meddle in our 2016 presidential election. Now that has been debunked over and over again, but that hasn't stopped some of Trump's lackeys from regurgitating this propaganda. One of those lackeys was Senator Kennedy, who recently went on Chuck Todd's show, Meet the Press, and found himself having to defend the statements that he made about Ukraine. Take a look.
Now, come on. I mean, I got to put up, you realize the only other person selling this argument outside the United States is this man, Vladimir Putin. This is what he said on November 20th. Thank God nobody is accusing us anymore of interfering in US elections. Now they're accusing Ukraine. Well, let them sort this out among themselves. You just accused a former president of Ukraine. You've done exactly what the Russian operation is trying to get American politicians to do. Are you at all concerned that you've been duped?
No, because you just read the articles. Do you believe The Economist magazine is a reputable journal? It's been around, I think, since 1843. Let me put it this way, Chuck. Let's suppose, and I don't believe it, but you're right, and I'm wrong. Then what harm would it do to allow the President of the United States, who has a demonstrated record fighting foreign corruption, to introduce evidence?
Why doesn't he? He has been provided every opportunity to provide exculpatory evidence on any of this, and they have chosen not to.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
So Kennedy was suggesting that Ukraine, there's a possibility that Ukraine could be guilty of hacking into the DNC server to obtain those emails. Again, look, Fiona Hill, who is part of the intelligence community, testified during the impeachment investigation and specifically called this out and said, look, there are some Republican lawmakers who keep pushing this propaganda that Ukraine was behind that hack. And Ukraine was absolutely not behind that. It was 100% Russia. We have evidence to show that. And this is incredibly harmful toward Ukraine. By the way, it's totally harmful toward everything that's going on right now because it delegitimizes every single part of our government, right? Just to do Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin's bidding.
So let me be as clear as we can possibly be about what a wild conspiracy theory it is that Ukraine interfered in an election. So what is the theory? Well, Trump laid it out in the call with Zelensky, the Ukrainian president. He said, look, CrowdStrike has a server in Ukraine, and so I want you to investigate that. Now, Trump has said that CrowdStrike is a Ukrainian company that took the servers of the Democrats,
the DNC servers, and somehow brought them over to Ukraine and are still hiding them in Ukraine. CrowdStrike is not at all a Ukrainian company. It's an American company based in Sunnyvale, California. The material, the information that the people who hacked the DNC servers got is not in a server, it's in the cloud. There's no physical server in Ukraine or in Sunnyvale. It's in the cloud. I like that I pointed out. Okay, so there's no basis at all for this wild, insane conspiracy theory. So then the people who originally put out that conspiracy theory, turns out, was not Trump, it was Putin. So Putin says, oh yeah, I think the Ukrainians have a server that they're hiding, right? And Trump doesn't know anything about a cloud, doesn't know anything about servers, doesn't know any of that, right? So he says, oh, Vlad told me to tell you guys that it's Ukraine. That works for me, that works for Vlad, it works for everybody who's crooked. So now the entire Republican Party is like, yep, nope, there is no cloud, it was a server, it's a Ukrainian company, I don't care that it's based in California. I'm just gonna lie to you on behalf of both Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. The entire Republican Party, they've all become stooges for Putin. It is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. If the Democrats had done 1% of this, 10% of this, the Republican Party would have shredded them. And the media would have gone along. They'd almost like put the Democratic Party out of business right now if they'd done 10% of this, working on behalf of Putin, like the obvious sick stooges that they are, with wild, insane conspiracy theories. They don't even bother backing up with one fact. Okay, so here's where I think the biggest problem is, right? Because Republicans are gonna Republican, Trump is gonna Trump. They're gonna do what they do, and they're not gonna have any real evidence to back up their arguments. They're gonna spread propaganda, they're gonna spread lies, they're gonna do whatever is possible to show Trump that they're loyal to him, right? And in fact, Trump recently tweeted in response to Senator Kennedy, thank you to great Republican Senator John Kennedy for the job he did in representing both the Republican Party and myself against sleepy eyes Chuck Todd on Meet the Press.
No,
Meet the Depressed, okay.
Meet the Depressed, that's so clever, not remotely clever.
Okay, so they're his lackeys. Of course, they're gonna go on any show any network or cable show and pretend like they're supportive of Trump, that they believe him, that they think he's innocent, because they care about their political careers. So stop having them on the shows. Look, the reason why we talk about it on this show is because you need someone in the media to debunk this nonsense. Otherwise, you just have all these mainstream media outlets who provide the platform, but very rarely challenge these lawmakers. Now, in this case, Chuck Todd, congratulations, you challenged Senator Kennedy, but more often than not, he doesn't, which is why this clip made news. Everyone's like, whoa, Chuck Todd. Did you guys see that? He challenged him. It's amazing. Let's all give him a big round of applause. Great. How about don't have these people on anymore? If you know they're lying and they're gonna lie, it's predictable. Why have them on?
Nah,
I mean, look, they're good at media blackouts. They've done it to Andrew Yang. They've done it to other, Democratic candidates. And in that case, I think that it's completely unjustified, completely unfair, because we're just talking about someone who has different ideas. Let's hear them. In this case, you have people who are enabling criminality in the executive branch.
Yeah. So, well, your last point's really good. But let me disagree with the first one. I think you should have them on, but that should not be the exception. It should be the rule. I thought Chuck Todd did a good job there, and I like that he had Putin's quote ready to go. It would have been great if they had Fiona Hill's quote too, but that's nitpicking. An actual aggressive challenge. I agree with you, Anna, that it's making news because the mainstream media almost never challenges Republicans. So when they do, they're like, whoa, where did that come from? But give credit where credit is due. Chuck Todd did a good job on that. He's done a good job on this issue before. And so I think you should have him on and shred them. So that's a fine point of disagreement to have. But your second point is a bit devastating, because the mainstream media will say, what am I gonna do? That's the Republican Party, that's half the country. Well, not really, it's now about 35 to 40% of the country, but I gotta have them on. They're one of the major parties. I'm actually very open to that argument. I agree with that. On the other hand, but you never have Andrew Yang on, you never have progressives on. So progressives are arguably just that wing of the Democratic Party, according to the polling, is larger than the entire Republican Party. I can show you a dozen polls, but do you have any progressives on? I mean, sometimes because you're forced to, you'll have Bernie Sanders on because he's top 2 candidate, but even then it's barely, right? But you like almost never have any progressives on to say things that are true and rational, but yet you fill your airtime with these guys who are now, I mean, John Kennedy used to be a person with some degree of intellect and some degree of principle, even though I disagreed with him on everything. Now he's become the saddest little puppy dog
100%
for Donald Trump.
100%. But I have to add one other thing, because let's be fair. It's not just about Republicans. Right before that interview with Kennedy, he interviewed Amy Klobuchar. And Amy Klobuchar put out a bunch of lies regarding what Medicare for All would actually do.
That I guarantee you he didn't challenge her on.
He did not, that's my point, Okay, so it's frustrating because they know everything is so predictable. Chuck Todd, in response to Kennedy, had that graphic ready to go because he already knew what Kennedy was gonna say, right? They know what they're doing, and the fact of the matter is, a lot of our societal issues come from the fact that the media is not doing its job. They refuse to challenge certain lies, and then they platform people without challenging them when they're enabling criminality most of the time. In this case, again, Chuck Todd did challenge Kennedy, but how did we get to this point? How is it that so many Americans right now believe the nonsense and the lies coming from the Republican Party? It's because the media consistently has failed to do its job.
Well, look, if they were doing their job, and see, this is where they would say, oh, no way, we can never ever say this. They would say that the entire Republican Party is lying. On this issue, there is no question. You don't have to say they're lying about being pro-life or pro-choice, that's an opinion. But there are actual facts in the world. And when the Republican Party lies in its entirety on the issue of the server in Ukraine and almost every other defense of Trump on impeachment, they are actual provable lies, and it is your job to say, yes, it is the entire Republican Party. And they would never say that because they'd be like, oh no, we would offend Republican viewers, we would offend Republican Party, they wouldn't give us access. Okay, then fine, just say, look, admit it, you should run a logo that says we do political correctness on behalf of the Republican Party. We don't tell you the whole truth because then we might lose access to Republicans. And by the way, we also, much worse when it comes to the Democrats, we cover up 3/4 of the truth. So we never tell you that Medicare for All actually provides you better insurance than private insurance.
Exactly.
That it covers more. We never ever tell you that. We never ever tell you that the current system costs twice as much as any other country that has single payer. We never tell you that. In fact, we tell you the replacement, it would be more expensive, which is just a flat out lie, but we all say it and we platform all the moderate Democrats, all 32 of them in the race, right? And we never challenge them on any of that. And whenever there's a progressive on, we yell at them, oh, Bernie Sanders, this is gonna cost too much money, even though they're totally wrong on that issue. So look, yes, the mainstream media has massive problems in how they're covering politics. You should care about the facts and not about your desperate need to appease mainstream Democrats and lying Republicans.
When we come back from the break, we're going to do one of my favorite segments on the show as the White House turns. But I also want to let you guys know that Emma Vigeland will be joining us for hour 2. Our very own Emma Vigeland in studio in LA. She will join us for hour 2. We'll be right back.